This is CNN.
I'm Bill Hartley, live at the New York Stock Exchange. Blue chip prices have moved back into positive territory now. Dow Jones Industrials have been zigzagging all morning, up as many as 15 points, down as many as 9. Right now, the Dow is up about 8 points. It stands at 3,232 and 1/2. 81 million shares have traded so far, heavy volume. About 7 stocks up for every 6 that are down. Broader and secondary markets are all higher. Bond prices are edging up in the face of mixed readings on the economy. First, the good news. Personal income jumped a full % last month, and personal spending climbed by 0.3%. On the downside, order to U.S. factories for durable goods plunged by 5% last month. Orders for transportation equipment posted the biggest decline. We'll have another update in an hour. I'm Bill Hartley, live at the New York Stock Exchange.
All women are not feminists.
No, I don't think it's dead.
But we sort of need to change what we mean by feminism these days.
Feminism, dead or alive? Critics say its leaders are hypocrites who didn't tell women the whole truth. And like the failure of communism, it's time to make way for a new order. Others say the movement is alive and well. Hello, I'm Catherine Crier. Welcome to Crier Company. The shape of feminism today. Some women say the movement has outlived its usefulness. Critics complain feminist leaders have betrayed their followers, ignored and alienated homemakers, and failed to recognize the realities of home life. Journalist and author Sally Quinn recently jumped into the fray with a Washington Post article entitled, "Who Killed Feminism?" She's really touched a nerve. Sally, thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining us. Is feminism dead?
Well, I think that feminism, what I said in my article is that feminism as we have known it is dead. And what I mean by that is that the movement itself is not speaking to the concerns of so many women in the country today. I don't mean that the concerns are dead. I have always considered myself a feminist, although many younger women don't call themselves feminist anymore.
Well, now, are we arguing semantics here?
I think so. I think we're arguing semantics, and I think we're arguing tactics. My feeling is that there are a lot of really serious issues out there. I mean, there's the abortion issue, issues of pay and promotion, job promotion, just to mention a few, which are really crucial issues, and women are still suffering in the workplace, and those issues need to be addressed. But I think that what's happened is that the feminists, the quote feminists in this country, the professional feminists, have made the issues have really sort of gone to extremes, made the issues confused with what goes on in the workplace and what goes on in the bedroom, so that a lot of women who ordinarily would be for that agenda have been turned off. They feel that their own lives and their own concerns that deal with the home and the family and their sex lives have been trivialized, and therefore they are not taking the movement seriously.
Let me interrupt and ask you a question then. Is there something about the leadership of what was perceived as the feminist movement or the women's movement that has gotten some sort of confusion between what really was feminism and what then is perceived? Is it easier to dismiss the cause if you simply say that these are aggressive women that hate men, that have certain negative connotations about them, and therefore the movement itself is no good?
Well, I think that is becoming the perception. I mean, what my problem with this is, as I said, because I have always considered myself a feminist. I mean, I think if you look in the dictionary, it will tell you that it means people who want equality with men. I don't see how anyone can disagree with that. And I feel very strongly about many of these issues, the same issues that a lot of professional feminists and members of NOW feel strongly about. What I think is that these issues are not being addressed and not being taken seriously because of the way that it's being presented. And I think we're talking about a PR problem and a tactical problem here.
So in your opinion, where did it go wrong?
Well, I think that, as I said earlier, I think that feminists confused the workplace with the bedroom, that they couldn't quite decide where to make that dividing line, where to cut things off. So women were being made to feel. Now, when I talked to a feminist last week, she said, well, name me one person who told you not to get married or have a baby. This is not what I'm talking about. We're not talking about statistics here. We are talking about perceptions and feelings that most women in this country, and certainly all of the, I mean, I can't even think of a single friend of mine, and I'm talking about really high-powered professional career women here. Most women feel that the movement does not speak to them, and women have been made to feel ashamed or guilty for wanting to have babies, for wanting to take care of their families, their men,
let me ask you a
wanting
question.
to get married. And this has been a perception all along, that women would be better off if they were independent. They didn't need men. They could live without them.
But Sally, let me ask you a question, because Betty Friedan was on some months back talking about the issue of feminism in the 90s, and her big issues were parental leave, child care, issues where women could resolve the dispute between the home place and the workplace. That doesn't sound like a movement that's ignoring those concerns.
Well, I made a special point in my article of talking about how Betty was one of the few who had actually sort of grown and seen and changed and realized the real concerns of so many women. She wrote a very courageous book called The Second Stage, which was exactly about these issues, taking into account the whole person, the total woman. I quoted Maribel Morgan, who once wrote a book called The Total Woman, which was roundly criticized by many feminists, in which she was talking about the fact that you have to take into consideration every aspect of a woman's life. And I think Betty has done that. And what I said is that it's not the movement that's dead. It is the people who are leading it, I think, are not seeing the major concerns, and that we need other women, other kinds of women who will take into consideration everything that women care about to lead a new group into another era. I mean, as I said, the younger women today don't even want to call themselves feminists. They think that the word has an ugly connotation and doesn't apply to them. I mean, at the Washington Post, a number of women in their 30s who were really good, successful, terrific journalists said, "I'm not a feminist. I would never call myself a feminist." And I found that really shocking, because I still do. It makes me feel very old-fashioned.
So maybe
but what I'm saying is that whatever is happening with the movement and with now is not speaking to these women. And this is dangerous, because what it does is it gives ammunition to all of those people out there who are not feminist and who would like to put women down and like to trivialize the issue.
All right. Well, Sally Quinn, thank you for coming in and illuminating the debate a little bit. And feminism with a new face. Is it time? We'll discuss this with our panelists in just a moment.
I think that women continue to make strides and in their own education, in their own careers, and develop power for themselves. Unfortunately, activists sometimes tend to really ruin it.
Some people don't know it, but they're paying too much in taxes. Take these two, identical in many ways. Similar homes, similar income, similar investments. But one could be paying 28% more tax on his savings and investment income. That's over $200 on every $800 earned. The other called Fidelity Investments toll-free and found out how to invest tax-free in this free fact kit on Fidelity tax-free funds. It shows you how to earn income that's 100% free from federal income taxes. And in some states, your income may be free from state and local taxes, too. And there's no sales charge, which means all your money is working for you. So call for your free fact kit on Fidelity Investments tax-free funds. Call right now and you'll also get this bonus booklet, Understanding Tax-Free Investing. See how Fidelity gives you the facts you need to make up your own mind without pressure.
Hello, Fidelity?
Keep more of what you earn. Call 1-800-328-4100 today. Fidelity Investments. Common sense, uncommon results.
With 5 powerful cleaning agents, Fantastic not only outcleans all others on greasy kitchen dirt, it's the perfect do-it-yourself cleaning kit for almost every surface in your kitchen and bath. 5 Cleaner Fantastic. More power, more places.
The Murine Earwax Removal System has drops that safely loosen hardened wax when used as directed, plus an ear washer to gently flush wax away. Murine, the complete medically approved system to safely remove earwax.
Today, he was a top aide to President Reagan and the Iran-Contra affair's central figure. An interview with Oliver North, plus recognizing sexual harassment, both today on Sonia Live, 1 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
think that people are afraid of the word feminism. They think that that connotes a real sort of militant lesbian kind of personality.
Feminist leaders are bristling under the criticism they're self-destructing. They point out that without their strident leadership, women would have no hope for equality in the courtroom or the office. Joining us in Washington are Eleanor Smeal, president of the Fund for the Feminist Majority and former president of the National Organization for Women. Beverly LaHaye, founder and president of Concerned Women for America, an organization promoting traditional family values. And sociologist Rita Simon, professor of law and public affairs at American University in Washington, D.C. Welcome all. And Ellie, let me begin with you. I don't know that I heard from Sally the same thing I read in the article, because what I seemed to hear was feminism is not dead in terms of the concerns, but maybe the perception needs to be changed. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, she threw out so many stories there, but let me just put some facts onto the record. A recent December 1991 poll done by Times Mirror, it's a media publication, says that something like 71% of Americans have a favorable impression of the women's movement, and among young women, that goes up to 71 overall. It was something like 83 in the 20s, 83%. Then when you look at what's the, now is the leading women's movement. It's been heavily criticized, but what do the public think about it? And you look at random samples. A 1989 poll done by Time magazine, certainly wasn't commissioned by Now, found that 65% of the public supported Now, felt that they were in touch with women, and among young women, and this is key because we keep hearing that young women are the ones we're losing. Among young women, that 65 went to over 70%. In fact, among teenagers, we went to over 80%. Said that we were in touch with them.
But Ellie, is any of that criticism fair? Do you give credence to any of those comments?
Well, I mean, she has stories, but I can give you, everybody else goes by the public opinion polls, and I can not only go by the public opinion polls, I'll go by actualities of we have, our membership keeps growing, marches and demonstrations get bigger. In fact, the largest one in history was in 1989, over 600,000 people. Even the police said it was the largest in history, but we're preparing right now for an April 5th one on abortion. We know it's going to be even bigger. Basically, but if you go on college campuses, women are taking women's studies. Every one of our issues, and it goes from family medical leave to wife beating to equal pay issues to abortion, we're way over in the public opinion support.
Bring
so
Beverly
I don't know
in
where
here.
This is coming from.
Beverly, either the message or the messenger, are they in trouble?
I think feminism is in trouble, yes. When you look at where they've come from, and today their main subjects are an obsession on abortion rights, lesbian rights. They're out of step with the American women, so much so that they think they need to start a third political party because they don't fit in with either the Republican or the Democrats. And so I think they're in a bankrupt situation right now.
Well, Rita, do you agree with that? Is it a perception problem or reality?
I think it's both. I think that Now should get a lot of credit for many of the important changes that women have received from the 1960s on. But I think some of the problems today are Now and the leaders of women's movement persist in trying to label women as victims. We're not victims. They also, I think, try and make it seem as if there's a confrontation in American society between men and women. That's simply not true. If you look at the data, and I'm glad Eleanor refers to data, men and women agree on most of the important issues that are, quote, women's issues. Men have been as supportive of VRA, for example, as women. Men are as pro-choice as women are on the abortion issue. Men have been as much in favor of equal pay for the same work as women have. There's no confrontation between men and women in this society, and I think some of the leading feminists have tried to make it that. I think they've also tried to make women appear as victims. I think they're also now at a stage where they're not preaching equality, they're preaching special treatment.
Wait a minute, let's go back to this whole thing of victims. It is the women's movement who talks about survivors, that women who have been raped are survivors of rape, and that fact that they should be empowered, not made to feel ashamed. It is, in fact, we brought the new language not to look at us as victims, but in fact to say we should be empowered. We've never said this is a male-female thing as much as it is a power thing. Yes, we're very high in public opinion polls, but we are not high in power in Congress. Women are not only 5% of the members of Congress, but business interests who would like us not to have a family medical leave, who in fact have fought the Equal Rights Amendment because of trying to protect discrimination in insurance and pay. They have more power. And as far as Democrats and Republicans speaking to American people, now has a higher favorability rating than either. And in reality, it is American politicians who have fallen and really out of touch with American people.
Beverly?
By the way, I want to just say one other thing about feminism and its popularity that can be measured in something that's really concrete, not just a poll. Susan Faludi's book on feminism, which is a devout feminist book that says that in essence that the media and the political power has been attacking the feminist movement, is #1 in the Washington Post bestseller list, and I think it's 2 or 3 in New York Times, so it does also sell well.
Beverly, let me ask you something. What is your perception of the women's movement, of the term feminism? What is the perception out there from your organization?
The perception that we see of the women's movement is really a group of women who have very loudly proclaimed that we should be liberated from men, not supporting marriage, not supporting motherhood. And the women that I work with, and the vast majority of the American women, I believe, really want to be tied in with a husband, with a family, and not liberated from men. We are not victims. I agree with Rita. We're not victims. We are very self-sufficient. We're very successful women that have families, that have husbands, and we are looking for people who will help strengthen the family.
Ellie, I need you to address the concern that many women may have, and it may be a perception problem, and that is, you know that there are men and women out there that perceive feminists as hairy-legged liberals, burning bras, telling men to get out of their life. Why did that perception arise? Regardless of your polls and your concerns, that debate is out there, and bright, talented, corporately oriented women are shying away from being labeled feminist. Why?
Well, first place, keep on dealing with mythology. Of course it's out there. The media keeps on asking questions, why is feminism dead when it's not dead? I mean, I can show the first Harper's Magazine, 1976, a rec room to the women's movement. Again, we were growing then. I mean, basically, we have a fascination with pronouncing us dead when we're not. And there, the caricatures, the cartoons, the constant lies about our position. Well, no, despite this, the fascinating thing is that we're so high in public opinion polls. We are growing so rapidly. So in reality, I mean, it's sort of irrelevant, the question. I think the real issue is, why don't we want to discuss right straight on, how do we have the politicians and business interests address the real needs of American women? How do we really close the wage gap? How do we put the abortion question behind us by making women get the power to make these decisions personally?
I think that question is very relevant.
But
very relevant.
Wait a minute. There are radical feminists who are on record as saying, for example, all sex is rape. Now, you're not going to get the American women to support that.
That isn't the position of the National Organization for Women.
I'm not talking about the National Organization of Women.
No, wait, just let me interrupt just a minute. Rita, let me interrupt just a moment, because we can't hear anybody when this goes on. Rita, is the perception getting in the way of dealing with the real issues, and is that a legitimate criticism of the movement?
Well, I think, for example, if you take a real issue like sexual harassment, which I think now is on record for, when we had a recent test of that, most American women and men did not support the now issue on that particular sexual harassment. Now it's off by itself. The public opinion polls showed that most of the women and most of the men were more likely to think that Clarence Thomas was telling the truth.
Wait a minute. Let's just deal with Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas. What did that do? It said that American women were sexually harassed on the job, and this is a serious question. In fact, even the senators said that this was a serious question in the workplace, and that is something that the women's movement has been working to achieve. And as far as
we're assuming you believe Anita Hill's testimony.
As far as who believed who, Remember what happened with how that was presented to the public. He got prime time. He got, in fact, almost 15 times the exposure that she did. And despite that, a large portion of the American people, over 40% of the American people, respected her, thought that it took courage for what she did. And by the way, it's not that they believed him, that was put up that if there was a doubt, you had to go with him. They gave him the trial standard. So let's not, let's really see what happened there.
But the majority of the
American
women were supporting
the American people said sexual harassment is a serious problem. It is something we've been working for in this workplace.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break. We're going to have to take a break now. When we come back, we'll get out the crystal ball and look at the future of the women's movement.
One of the cleanest sources of electricity we have. A source that doesn't burn anything and so doesn't pollute the air. A source that emits no greenhouse gases and helps preserve our natural resources is nuclear energy.
Prince Charming is the little dog who was best in show at Westminster. And this is the first time in history a Pomeranian has ever done this.
Olga Baker, top breeder of champion Pomeranians.
I'm so glad that a dog food company finally came up with a product just for these little guys. Pedigree Select Dinner is perfect for the small dogs. Just look at this. This is the beef Select Dinner. It smells like fresh meat, looks like fresh meat, and the dogs love it. This is what we've been waiting for, and it really works.
Pedigree Select Dinners, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
In Switzerland, Ricola has been soothing sore throats and relieving coughs naturally for over 60 years. Ricola is a blend of 10 organically grown alpine herbs and natural flavors, providing pleasant-tasting natural relief. Ricola, the natural choice for soothing sore throats and relieving coughs naturally.
Kids, we counted all the vegetables in just one of these Del Monte Pasta Classics. So how many, Billy? It would take about an hour just to pick them out.
New Del Monte Pasta Classics. So easy and delicious, some people are nervous.
One show this year offers a different look at politics. Get voting records, not just rhetoric. Get analysis, not just information. And understand the process. Inside Politics 92. Today, 4:30 Eastern on CNN.
If you incur a layoff within 3 years, we'll cover your car payments. Plus your insurance payments.
This is ordinary bulk fiber. It's full of grit. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. The grit is gone because it's triple ground for smoothness. This is ordinary fiber. The grit is definitely not gone. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil, the best mixing, smoothest tasting natural fiber you can buy. The grit is gone. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. For regularity, nothing works better. And the grit is gone.
Something's waiting inside the powerful 486SX computer. A technology that will make it even more powerful. We call it Room for the Future. Introducing built-in upgradability. Check into it. From Intel, the computer inside.
Campbell's heard your healthy requests.
Low fat.
Less salt.
But lots of taste.
Here's our answer. New Campbell's Healthy Request ready-to-serve soups. All the great taste you want without some things you don't. New Campbell's Healthy Request. And healthy.
Beginning February 6th, PBS takes you live to one of the most popular stops on the PGA Tour, the United Airlines Hawaiian Open. Tom Watson, Curtis Strange, Ben Crenshaw, and defending champ Lanny Watkins lead an all-star field at this championship in paradise. The United Airlines Hawaiian Open. Live complete coverage begins February 6th, exclusively on TBS.
age where 20 years ago where it started, and there's such a big difference in comparison the way women's rights are and opportunities for women in comparison, let's say, to 1965.
Returning to our guest now, Rita, let me begin with you. In a world so PR-oriented where perception is critical, Sally Quinn seemed to be saying the message was still important, but maybe the messengers were outdated. Does there need to be a change to continue the women's movement?
Yes, I think so. I think that the emphasis should be on equality, not on preferential treatment. I think emphasis should be that men and women are tied together. They share some very basic values. They agree on very important issues. They should work together on some of the kinds of issues that are going to come up in the next few years. And certainly the abortion issue is probably the most prominent one on the women's movement agenda. Men are supportive of women on the pro-choice position. And I think that the leaders of the women's movement should not try and pull men and women apart. They should recognize they share these things. They should talk about equality. They should quit the victim business. They should stop asking for preferential treatment. The women's movement started out as a movement asking for being treated equally. And I think a lot of the young women today, when they don't like the feminist label, they don't like it because they say, we can make it on our own. We don't need to be given special treatment.
Okay, Beverly, it sounds like there's still a need for the movement. Do you agree?
Well, I think certainly families are in dire condition across the country, and if NOW has been 25 years in existence, we should be seeing a marked improvement in families. But at the same time they were celebrating 25 years of existence, the headlines across America came out and said that over 30 years there's been a decline in the good health of American children, emotionally and certainly economically. Their problems are severe. Well, I think the women's movement should be also helping children.
Okay, Ellie, you are at the forefront of that movement. Describe the 90s. Where does the movement go from here to sustain itself?
Well, the movement is going for political power. In other words, there will be more and more women getting elected to public office. Most of them will be feminists. In fact, feminists now are the governor of the largest in Texas. We have 2 feminists running for United States Senate out of California. The fact of the matter is our ideas have become tremendously popular, and they're so popular that people say, well, there's nothing wrong with the message, it's just the messenger. Well, that's great. I'm glad everybody likes the message. We now have to get enough power to make sure we do have child care, that we do have equality. By the way, we've been preaching equality. I even signed most of my letters saying for equality. That's been our bottom line. But we don't have it. And we don't have it because the political power groups answer to business interests that are afraid of paying women equally and, frankly, still think that they can keep us in as a cheap labor pool. They can't. The message has sold. Now we got to figure out how indeed we have enough political power so that we can vote in equal pay, we can vote in equal rights, child care, that we can make sure that our children, and goodness knows there's nobody that has crusade more for children's rights than the women's movement, have better educational opportunities.
You're giving us a list of issues for more shows. Certainly appreciated, and thank you all for a discussion on an ongoing debate. Eleanor Smeal, president of the Fund for the Feminist Majority, Beverly LaHaye, president of Concerned Women for America, and Rita Simon, professor of law at American University in Washington, D.C. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Now, if you'd like to write to us, send your letters to Crier Company, P.O. Box 740166, Atlanta, Georgia, 30374-0166, or send us a fax at 404-681-3578. I'm Catherine Crier. Thanks for watching. Now for a look at NewsHour, Bobby Batista. Bobby.
Catherine, thanks. Just ahead, Discovery back in the grip of gravity after 8 exciting days in space. A deadly end to a bus hijacking and 320-mile chase across 2 states. And the story of an 11-year-old boy doctors say was awakened from a coma by his dog. His story and more next on NewsHour.
Coming up, NewsHour, followed by Sonia Live after a word from your local cable system here on CNN.
Remember the story of the 3 little pigs? It took 3 tries before they learned to make a house that was safe from the wolf. Well, people have tried a lot more than 3 ways to build houses. First off, most people find bricks are too expensive. So what else have we tried?
Well, there's wood, but you know what you have to do to wood every 3 or 4 years, and with good paint at nearly $20 a gallon, that's pretty expensive. To avoid painting, someone invented aluminum siding. That worked until there was a hailstorm or a neighborhood baseball game. Vinyl siding also took a beating from hail. And look out if your neighbor has a fire. Can you imagine having your house just melt? Then we figured out how to make siding of steel. Now, there is tough stuff. Hail doesn't hurt it, never needs paint, and it looks great. But siding comes in 12-foot lengths, so you have those ugly splices. For siding to be durable and look good, it has to be steel without splices. So the people at ABC Seamless Siding invented a way to take the siding manufacturing machine right out to your house, so they could make siding on the spot, in the exact length needed, even 100 feet long. Finally, we solved the problems of aluminum and vinyl siding. Is ABC Seamless Siding the perfect way to build a house? We think so, and we'd like to mail you information on the reasons why ABC Seamless Siding is best. Someday, all siding will be made like this.
As homeowners, we are all aware of energy cost. Making your home energy efficient is important, and here in Iowa, there is a company that can help you, ABC Seamless Siding, because they use quality siding, installation, and energy-efficient windows. I fully endorse ABC Seamless. Not only can they beautify your home, they can save you money too. As energy costs keep climbing, put your energy bills in check. Call today and find out how affordable ABC Seamless products can be.